Today I'm going to be talking about Skyq Glass and why I think you shouldn't get it. Let's get into it. Now I am in the spare room where this TV lives, and originally it was in the living room where obviously everyone is, but it was a really not great experience, and I really do want to get into this and explain why this TV is definitely not the smartest TV that it is made out to be. Now, first things first, this TV has definitely improved a lot since we first got it. I got this TV back in October 2021 when it first came out, and we had a lot of issues. I was calling up Skyq pretty much every day and reporting a new issue to them. Now, you may be wondering what these issues were. The TV was struggling to turn on, it was slow, unresponsive, you couldn't skip ads, you couldn't pause, and it was causing a lot of issues. Now, the TV itself is now pretty responsive. It's not as slow as it once was, and it does respond pretty well. And one of the amazing things about these TVs is the voice control. So I can say settings, and if you give it a minute, it will respond. And one other cool thing is this TV specifically has voice control. So if you unmute the microphone, you can say, "Hello Sky, where is my remote?" And your remote will start to beep so that you can find it. Now, it's a really useful feature to have, and obviously you do not get this on most smart TVs, so it is a really unique feature to Skyq, but this is normally where the good things end. Now, I could have had a really bad experience compared to everyone else, but going based on what other people have said, it really hasn't been great for them either. Now, this TV is honestly a decent size if you have it in a room like this. It's not too big, and it's honestly a decently nice TV. It helps the fact that there is a speaker that is really good built into the TV. It is one of the best speakers I've heard on the TV, but it does mean you get this massive black bar on the bottom of the TV, which is very unique, and you do not see this pretty much anywhere. When this was in my living room, which I will go into in a minute, it really does look tiny. Now, obviously this is a 42-inch TV. It's not massive by any means, but it just does mean that it is quite small, and because it is such a weird aspect ratio, it does make it look a bit weird. Now, you may be asking what is bad about this TV, and now for me, I would definitely have to say is that it has no game mode, which is a very big issue if you are playing any type of games or you're wanting to hook up your Xbox or PlayStation to the TV and play a game, because there is a noticeable delay between moving the controller and the TV responding. Now, obviously it's not the end of the world watching TV, that this thing is at only 50 Hertz. It's a very big issue when you're playing games though, and just take that into account. If you do want this to be in your living room with all your other games consoles, it's not gonna be like that. And it's not made for that. It's made for having a really good TV experience, which it's not. And it's because it runs over Wi-Fi, you have to have seriously powerful Wi-Fi. Now, when I got this TV, they were saying that the recommended speed you have to have is 25 megabytes a second. Now, I just thought I'd clarify what that means in terms of speed, and if you don't know what megabytes and speed is, I'm going to show you how you can test your Wi-Fi now to see if you meet the minimum requirements. All you're going to want to type into Google is speed test. Once you do that, you can do either the one straight through Google, but I like to use this specific one, the Ookla one. It's just a personal preference thing. Just accept your terms and conditions and then click go. And what this will do is this will test your Wi-Fi speed, and you are looking for Skyq Glass. You're going to want to look at this speed. Now, as long as this is over 25, you should be alright. Just take into account if it's anything lower than that, you cannot get it, and I would not recommend even getting the TV on 25. But yeah, that's how you do it. You have to be able to have very decent Wi-Fi. Now, I have recently changed Wi-Fi, and I get 1000 megabits down, 1000 up. Now, this is obviously fine, because the TV has loads of bandwidth it can play with, and is going to be able to support having multiple Sky parks and multiple TVs. But the issues come when you have less powerful Wi-Fi. So I had 75 megabits before. Now that isn't weak by any terms. Like I would say that is a decently powerful TV. Now I'd say that is a decently powerful Wi-Fi connection for what you're gonna need. Now it's one of those things where it really varies, because if you've got multiple devices on at the same time, this TV will struggle. Now, it's going to be an issue if this is the only device in your house. If you are, you know, maybe just using this TV and you're not using multiple other devices, it could be absolutely fine on a weaker connection. But for me, I have a lot of devices and this just couldn't handle it. Compared to Sky's previous aerial connections, I really was not impressed. Now, if we do watch some TV, ITV1, as you can see, it takes a while to respond. And then, if I pause, we get that. Now, if I want to rewind, this is where the interface gets a little bit clunky. It's not as responsive as something like a Skyq box. Now, you will notice that there is a sort of delay between when I press the forward button and when it actually stops. This was a much bigger issue when the TV originally came out. Now, this is because it's having to run over internet, and Sky have never used a service where you have to run over internet. So forwarding and reversing takes a little bit of time, and there's a really big delay between the thing you're seeing and where it actually puts you at. Now, for this to make sense, when you skip forward on a Skyq box and you click play, it stops you directly where you click play, because that video is being recorded directly to the hard drive on the Skyq box. Whereas this is going over the cloud before it can pause and play. So you do have to have a powerful connection for something like that. Now, what most people will be saying is, well, this is Sky. Can I still record stuff and can I still watch it back in years to come? No, this thing has no hard drive or SSD built into it. So it does mean that everything you do now over streaming apps, you have to make sure you have every single streaming app, because Sky does not supply this anymore. They supply Sky Cinema, but you don't get recordings. You have to use BBC iPlayer, ITVX, Channel 4 to get all the programs that you might have been using before. Now this is fine if you have a lot of streaming services and you don't really rely so much on satellite TV, because this TV will be alright, but because it's not a powerful TV and it doesn't have the most powerful processor in it, it's not going to be great. Now, what I mean by that is, on something like a Skyq box, that is a dedicated box that can have a lot of power into it. But because this is a TV with a panel, speakers, it has to make sure that it's distributing the power correctly, and it just doesn't do that. I find that when I'm watching something, it lags or it freezes. I've had multiple issues, especially with YouTube, where the remote just doesn't respond, or you exit the YouTube app and it is just in a tiny little box and you can't see it. Now, it's really not ideal to have some of these glitches because they keep happening. No matter how many times I report them to Sky, nothing gets sorted. The only thing that has been sorted on the TV, not the Sky Pucks, is it taking a while to turn on. I will show you what the Sky Pucks are like, but we'll get into that soon. I would definitely have to say with the Sky TV, the panel can get really bright, and I do find that it's a really nice looking TV. The panel is bright, the speakers are loud, the remote is Bluetooth to the TV, so I can point the remote away from the TV and still turn the volume up. It is a very good thing, because having a Bluetooth remote is just a nice little add-on. This is why you can do voice control, and it does also mean that the TV remote can be pretty much anywhere in the house and you can pretty much work the TV. Now, this remote does have a really nice feature which I have not seen before, and it is backlit, so obviously you won't be able to see it. Now, this remote lights up and it's really cool to see. Now, it's one of those little quality of life features that you don't think you're going to notice, but you definitely do. When you go from a remote that doesn't have it to having it, you definitely notice it. And honestly, compared to the other remotes that the Skyq had, this is by far the best remote. It's nice in the hand, it's smaller, and it honestly is just, the buttons are perfectly sized for what you're doing, because they know you're going to be pressing the microphone button a lot, the home button and the back button, pause, and the power button. They're the main ones you're going to be pressing, and they have made those buttons the biggest ones. And I really do appreciate that, because it is such a small quality of life feature compared to if we look at something like the Skyq remote. Everything is so small and tiny, and I think for people that have maybe slightly big fingers or have issues with using a remote because they've got a disability, this remote would definitely be better, and I do think it's a good idea. The TV isn't all bad, and I do think it's good for Sky customers that can't necessarily get a satellite dish version. Now, if you can get a Skyq, I would definitely recommend it. The only reason why I would say do not get Skyq is if you do want to have full 4K 60 FPS video. in your other rooms. Skyq does not offer that because the Sky Mini boxes can only do 1080p, but whereas the Sky Pucks can do 4K. So do take that into account, but you do lose some key features. For example, Skyq compared to Sky Pucks, you obviously can record on Skyq, you can't record on Sky Stream. Now, that is a big thing for a lot of people that turns them away from doing that, because a lot of people do want to be able to record, but this is just the way things are going now. People are going to have to start using more streaming services and not have the right to that content to keep it for years to come. When the streaming services take it off, they take it off. Now, it is a shame, but that is just the truth. I definitely say this TV is cool in the fact that obviously you can flip between your HDMI modes by using the voice control, and you can also get different front plates for the speaker. You can make this TV really unique, and it's a really cool idea that I have never seen done before. You can make the TV any color, you can change how the speaker grill looks, and it's just a really nice touch. And I really do appreciate that from Sky, because they haven't really branched out to TVs ever, and they've done it in a way that is definitely unique, and I would not say it's the best way. There's a lot of things that they could improve on, but it's all right. I mean, the TV is thick, and the TV is also, you know, pretty heavy. Like, mounting it on a wall would be very difficult because the TV is really heavy. It's made of solid aluminium. And you do take that into account if you are thinking of getting it. But let's move away from the TV and move on to the Sky Pucks. Now, it's obviously nice that this puck is smaller and it is easier to put in your living room, but it is just honestly a shame. It has taken some of the power out of the Sky Puck. Now, it does mean that when you're watching video or you're trying to just go around the interface, things are a little bit slower. Now, I have had new boxes, old boxes, had them replaced, and each time it has always been the same story. They take a while to turn on, they're not as responsive as the TV, and it is just a real shame because I like the interface, I like the way it works, I just don't like how slow, laggy, and it's just not responsive. And I think having this as your main TV and your service that you use can be quite draining, because you're trying to do stuff, you're trying to get around the system, and it's just slow. It's not as responsive as Skyq, and it's not as responsive as some of the services they've had in the past. And I do think it's a shame, because overall, I think if this service was maybe satellite, it would be really solid, because the interface is really intuitive. They have all the stuff that they want to recommend you on the top, and they also have all your previous apps that you have used to your left. And I overall think that's a really good idea, because if you want to get to something quickly, you can just go to the left, and the stuff you had the most open recently is there. And I also like how they made multitasking a lot more easier on this. Now, this does sound weird, but you can exit that, go through the system and go back to it, and it will still remember where you left off. Whereas on previous Sky devices, this would not happen. And it's just a really nice quality of life feature that if you accidentally turn off the box, it has a bit of RAM management and can remember where you left off. And I really do appreciate that. It's just such a small little feature, but it just comes in so useful. Now, overall, could I recommend this service? Would I say to someone, yeah, go ahead and buy it. It's an amazing service. You get the best smart TV and you get the best service possible. No, I would not say that. If anyone said to me, should I get Sky Glass? I would have to say no. Stay clear of it. Do not even think about buying it. Unless you have no access to Sky satellite services, then yeah, get it, but you've got to make sure you have powerful internet. And if someone can't get a Sky satellite dish because they rent or because they're in the middle of nowhere, then the likelihood of them having good Wi-Fi is very, very low. Now, it's a shame because, you know, I would just say go and get an Amazon Fire Stick and use that, because that is basically what this service is. You do not really get much different stuff other than live TV. And you're paying about £27 a month for that when you're in a contract, and £28 if you want to be out of contract. And that's just for the base watching TV. Now, I wouldn't say that this is as appealing as before, because £27 a month just to watch TV, you can't record stuff, you can't go back and rewind easily, you can't forward easily, you can't pause easily, everything's through streaming services. So what are you getting for that money? Nothing. And then on top, the TV we've got an extra £13 a month on top. And if you want to be able to skip ads, you have to pay £5 on top of that every month. So your bill ends up coming to about £55, £60 a month, which for this service is absurd. It is basically a streaming box that has no unique features other than voice control on this. it's under Sky's name, and that is the only reason why this service is as expensive as it is, because it really is not worth it. And if you're thinking of buying it, do not. Go for Skyq if you're okay with having the Sky mini boxes as a little bit lower quality, but I definitely say just try and stay clear of this. Do not buy it, because for the money, I just don't see it being worth it. If this ever improved in the future and it got slightly cheaper, I definitely say, yeah, go ahead and buy it. If it was £20 a month with just the base package, go ahead and buy it. You do get Netflix included, which is great, but you know, you can get Netflix without having to have Sky. You can get all the streaming services they're offering without having to have Sky. You can watch live TV for free. You've just got to weigh up whether you want to have a hub for all of this to happen, or you want just to have Sky services, but just try and stay clear of Sky Stream and Sky Glass, because it is definitely one of the worst services that Sky have brought out in a while. But it's been Harry. I'm out. Peace.